Hey, what's up, guys? In today's lesson, we are going to be learning how to identify independent and dependent variables. If you will remember from our last lesson where we were doing slope-intercept word problems, we were taking a word problem and writing an equation in slope-intercept form. The last step I had you do was identify the independent and dependent variables. What we're actually doing today is just zooming in on that last part. With functions, there's always this relationship. And so being able to understand the relationship and how those two are related is super important, okay? And so to help you with that, I'm gonna, one way you can think about independent and dependent variables is to think about cause and effect relationships. Again, I'm gonna repeat that because that's really important. Think about cause and effect relationships. So the independent variable is what causes the dependent variable, okay? So your x, or your independent variable, causes the dependent variable, the y, okay? So with that in mind, let's think about this, a couple examples, all right? So this first one, it says you have these two variables, okay? These two situations, and we're trying to figure out which one is the independent and which one is the dependent, okay? So it says the number of minutes running and the amount of calories burned, okay? So again, I'm gonna ask you, what causes the other, okay? Does running, the number of minutes running, cause you to burn calories, or does burning calories cause you to run? Okay? Hopefully you're thinking, that's obvious. It is the number of minutes you run causes the number of calories that you burn, okay? So the independent variable is the number of minutes run. Again, it causes the dependent variable, okay? The calories you burn. So independent causes, dependent is the effect, okay? Let's look at the next example. The grade made on a math test and the number of questions answered incorrectly. Okay, which one causes the other? Okay, does the grade on the math test cause how many questions you got incorrectly, or does how many questions you got incorrectly cause the grade that you get? Again, if I think about it, it should be pretty clear that it is the number of questions that you get incorrectly that causes the math grade. Okay, so again, I can't say this enough. The cause is the independent variable. The effect, okay, the thing that results, is the dependent variable. And if you can remember that, I think that will really, really help you with these problems, right? Let's look at the next one. The amount of money earned and the number of yards mowed, which causes the other? Does the money cause how many yards you mow, or does how many yards you mow cause how much money, right? What causes the other is the number of yards that you mow. That causes how much money you make. So I want you to pause. I want you to do the next two, and then I want you to see if you got it correct. All right, the number of gallons of gas put in a car and the number of miles the car is able to drive. Does the number of gallons of gas determine does that cause how much you're able to drive, or does how much you're able to drive cause the number of gallons in the car? The cause is the amount of gas. The amount of gas determines how many miles you're able to drive. Then the last one, the side length of a square and the perimeter of the square, okay? Which one causes the other? Does the side of the length of the square determine the perimeter, or does the perimeter cause the side? Well, again, the side of the square causes how much the perimeter will be, okay? So those are our answers for that section. Now let's continue. Okay, same thing, but we're just gonna look at it in a couple different formats. Okay, so again, I want to remind you, think about it. The cause, what causes the other? Independent causes the dependent. Okay, all right. So the wheelbarrow, a wheelbarrow with several bricks weigh more than a wheelbarrow with just a few bricks. Okay, so in this one, the weight of the wheelbarrow, okay, the weight, I'll just say weight for now. The weight depends on the number of bricks, okay? So the weight of the wheelbarrow depends on how many bricks you have. And so the number, so the dependent variable is the weight, right? How much weight is caused by the number of bricks that you have in the wheelbarrow. Okay. Question number 2, it says the car wreck was very large. So many emergency workers were there. Okay. So the number, okay. So in these sections, we're showing which one is dependent of the other. So this time we're writing the dependent first so that we can see that, which one is affected by the other. Okay, so the number of emergency workers, okay, the number of emergency workers depends on how large the wreck was. Okay, so it depends on how large or the size of the wreck. Okay, so the dependent variable is the number of workers is dependent on the size of the wreck. Okay. Again, in this section, we're just showing which one is dependent on the other. So we're looking for which one is dependent, okay? Which is the effect, which is the dependent variable. The temperature of the iced tea in the fridge dropped each minute. Okay. So what is the dependent variable? If the temperature of the iced tea in the fridge dropped each minute, okay? And so the temperature, right, of the iced tea, the temperature of the iced tea, right, depends on what? How many minutes are going by, because the temperature is dropping each minute. So it depends on the number of minutes that is in the fridge, right? So the dependent variable is the temperature. The independent variable is the number of minutes. Okay? And I want you to pause it, see if you can do this last one in this section on your own. All right. The bill at the bowling alley was high because several people attended the bowling party. Okay, so we got the bill and we got the number of people. Which one depended on the other? Well, the bill, or the price of the bill, okay, the price of the bill, it depends on how many people attended the party. Okay, the number of people that attended the party determines or causes how much the bill would be. So the independent variable is the price of the bill. And then the independent variable is the number of people. Okay. Now, so what we've done so far is we have shown the relationship, right, between the independent and the dependent variable. Okay. Now, the last 5 problems, or last 6, is just continuing to do the same thing, but it gives you in different formats. Okay. So the last questions on this notes sheet is just going to give you different ways of looking at it, but you're applying the same thing. The idea is for you to figure out what causes the other, okay? Which one depends on the other, okay? So the cause leads to the effect. The independent variable leads to the dependent variable, okay? The dependent variable depends on the independent, however you want to think about it, all right? So it says a basketball team played a total of 154 games last season. The number of games won and the number of games lost were L. Number of games won were W. Number of games lost was L. Represented by the equation. So we have this equation, okay? Which quantity does the independent variable represent, okay? So in this one, we have W equals 154 minus the loss, okay? And so, if you will remember from last time, Y equals MX plus B, okay, where the Y is the number outside, the Y is also the dependent variable, and the X is the independent variable, okay, it's the, one that could help you answer this one. So in this one, the quantity, the number of, in the way this one is set up, the number of losses is the independent variable, okay? Because you're taking 154 and you're subtracting the losses to give you the number of wins, okay? So the number of losses is independent, number of wins is dependent. Okay. It says number 6, a limo driver charges an initial fee of $150 plus $3 per mile driven. What is the independent variable? Okay. So again, this is actually what we did last time. The initial fee is $150. That's how much he's starting with. Like, he has to pay that. So what he's starting with, that is going to be our y-intercept, okay? That is the starting point. And then the $3 per mile, that is the slope. That's how much it is changing. That's the rate that it changes. So that is our slope, which is 3, and that is going to be x. So it is y equals 3x plus 150. Okay, that is our equation for this problem. All right. Now, again, we said the independent variable is going to be the one that is the x, right? And that is always with the slope. So the 3 is with the x. The $3 is the per mile, okay? So the independent variable in this case is going to be the number of miles driven, okay? Because that is the independent variable, all right? And the dependent variable, just this is extra, would be the cost, right? The total of it all, but it isn't asking about that, right? Number 7, it says, at Best Buy, all Samsung Galaxy cell phones are sell for a discount of 25%. Which best represents the functional relationship between the sale price of a cell phone and the original price, okay? Again, this one's a little harder, but again, which is asking for what is the relationship? So which one is independent on the other or dependent on the other? The original price is dependent on the sale price. Does the original price, how much it is originally, depend on how much the sale price is, how much is discounted? No, that doesn't make sense. The sale price and the original price are both dependent. Can both of those be dependent on the other? Nope, that makes sense. There is not enough information to determine the relationship. Nope. D, the sale price is dependent on the original price. So how much the sale price, the discounted price, will depend on how much it was originally. Right. And then the last few questions here. The cost, matter of fact, hey, see if you can answer these on your own. And then let's finish up the video and I'll give you the answers. The cost for renting a bounce house is a function of the number of hours of the rental. Okay, what in this situation, what is the dependent? The cost for renting a bounce house is a function for the numbers of hours. Okay, so which depends on the other? Does the cost depend on the number of hours that you rent it, or does the number that you rent it depend on the cost? No. The answer to, again, for this one, the dependent variable depends on, the cost depends on how many hours that you rent. So C would be the answer for the dependent variable. Again, the cost depends on how many hours. Okay. In this table, what's the relationship between the number of miles Maggie runs and the number of calories she burns, which is the independent variable? Okay. The number of miles or how many calories she burns. Which one is dependent on the other, or which causes the other? The number of miles causes the number of calories. And so this would be the miles run is the independent variable. And then lastly, this table shows the relationship between the amount of Starbucks gift cards bought and the total amount of money made by Starbucks. Okay, what is the dependent variable? Which one depends on the other? Which one depends? Does the gift cards bought depend on the money made, or does the money made depend on how many gift cards that were bought? And the answer is the total money made. Okay, again, that depends on how many gift cards were bought. Okay, so again, the best thing I can give you as a tip is to read the problem, make sure you understand, and you're looking for which one causes the other, okay? Which one is dependent on the other, okay? Hopefully this has helped you understand the independent and dependent variables, how to determine which is which in a given function word problem scenario.